Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Monday, June 15th, just a two-man show, Payton and I, and we're continuing the series, Payton, of power ranking the games in the Eli Drinkwitz era, and we've gotten to the most important season for the Tigers. To this day, I think it is the most impactful season. It is the best season in the Eli Drinkwitz era, especially when you finish 11-2 in the Cotton Bowl, hoisting that trophy in Jerry World. But the interesting part about this, because we've talked about it with Jack, and I think we talked about it in one of the last episodes, we are going to split this season into two, and we're going to do the first 6 games here today on Monday's show, and then next week, I think Jack will be back for that one. We'll do the back 6, which is incredibly harder to rank. But for those that don't know, these are the 6 games that we'll be talking about: South Dakota, Middle Tennessee, Kansas State, Memphis. And then the lone road game in this set is at Vanderbilt, and then LSU rounds it out. Payton, I know we want to start. I think there's a clear 1-1 here. Do you have another game that kind of felt like maybe it could have creeped into that one spot at all for you? And I think there was one if Mizzou had won that game.
There's only one loss in the first 6. LSU absolutely, I think, would have had an argument had Missouri won that game because, and we'll get into where LSU's ranked later, but I mean, that was like a big time, it was early window. I think it was on ESPN, if I remember correctly. That was like a big time statement game. Even though LSU, I believe, had a loss already coming into that game. They had a loss or 2. I think just 1, though. Had they been undefeated, that might have been game day, night game. Who knows? But wasn't to be. We'll get into why when we get there. But yeah, even if they had won that game, I still think there's a clear 1-1. And I mean, we're only going to do the first 6 today. But this is a game that I think is arguably number 1 on the whole season. We'll see if it's my number 1 when we combine the list. But, I think it's pretty obvious that Kansas State has to top the list of the first half of the year.
This is one of those games, too, that I think everyone that wasn't there will remember where they were, watching this. And they have a really weird story. I was at a museum for someone's birthday, and I was, sitting on, just – on a bench watching this game from my phone. This is one of those games too that it was worth the field rush, no matter what Kansas State fans had to say. This is where the Thanks Kansas State started, when this game was sold out, and there was a lot of Kansas State fans taking credit for that one. Just all around, when you look back on it too, Kansas State was 15th in the country. The quarterback was Will Howard. He won the national championship the next year at Ohio State. This is where I think that Georgia game too put Harrison Mevis on the map back in 2022. There were a lot of people that started to figure out who Harrison Mevis was. But I think this game really opened a lot of eyes to the thicker kicker, especially with that game winner. And it's one of those as well as if he misses that, I mean, there's still a lot of people that are coming after Drinkwitz for it because it was just so poorly managed. That's something that does get swept under the rug of, the kick got pushed back, had to call a timeout. I mean, it was just kind of an error on Mizzou's end.
Yeah, there's so much to untangle from this game. I'll be honest with you. I think Middle Tennessee is my least favorite game of the season. I mean, I think the vibes after Middle Tennessee were the lowest they had ever been. It was a horrible win. I mean, Middle Tennessee was about 20 yards from taking the lead late in the fourth quarter. And Missouri would have lost that game because Brady Cook was having a terrible day. They would not have scored. had Middle Tennessee State taking the lead. So you go into this game, Kansas State has this kind of long, arduous opening drive. Arduous, Kenny, there you go. Can't wait to see that in the Friday file. They have this long, arduous drive. They convert a couple third downs, if I remember. It ends with a ricochet touchdown pass. And you're just kind of like, here we go again. But then, I mean, the very next drive, Missouri gets a couple first downs. They finally, like an answered prayer from the heavens, they hit a deep shot to a wide open Luther Burden. And that was like, that to me, that's still maybe the most important throw of the Drinkwitz era, because that set off everything to me after that. It was like you just have to see one go in. Brady Cook, remember, he got hurt like right before halftime in this game, and it like stalled Missouri's offense out completely because he just couldn't run for a little bit. Kansas State kind of came back, took the lead. It was like just a great college football game, like a real throwback feel game where these two just traded the lead over and over. Missouri gets Luther Burden another touchdown on just a swing pass where he just shows he's the best player on the field. Just an unbelievably fun game to watch. I do remember I was in my apartment working at my first job at a college, and I thought I was going to get a noise complaint when Mevis hit that field goal. I was seriously yelling like at the top of my lungs. For it to have gone in from that distance against a top 15 team that whooped your ass the year before, I mean, just embarrassed. To me, like, it was really, that's still maybe you could argue the most important game in the Drinkwitz era, because it seriously, that was after that. I mean, it was like you couldn't tell me Missouri was losing another game for a bit. They go out, they beat Memphis, Vanderbilt. Even after LSU, I mean, I still came out of that game feeling like Missouri was a pretty good team. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But to me, this is 1-1. It might be 1-1 of the entire season. I'm not entirely sure I'll have it there, but you could definitely argue it. To me, this was a classic old Big 12 college football game, and Missouri was able to get up to that point easily the number one win in the Drinkwitz era.
I think it really plays into that whole Bobby Bowden quote that we kind of poked a little fun at in last episode. I mean, you lose by a lot, you lose by a little, then you finally win by a little. And that was just like the breaking point. You know, that's where everything kind of started to blow out. You know, everything started to spill over in the season, and just in the Drinkwitz era, that was the one you needed. And, you know, going into 2 weeks later, I think that's where my game 2 is. Payton. Now, I'll also point out, it says the game was on SEC Network. I do also have like a memory of it being on ESPN, but it does say SEC Network for the Kansas State game.
It might have been on SEC Network. I think that probably makes the most sense. Just a couple more quick things on Kansas State. One thing I remember is on that infamous final drive for Missouri, I remember Drinkwitz said they were running the ball with about 1:30 left because they wanted to make sure they got a first down before they really committed to like going full bore, which actually I think was a solid coaching decision. I remember Nate Pete had a rushing first down, and I remember this plain as day. You said he avenged the fumble against Auburn with that first down. I thought that was a little overdoing it, but I do remember you saying it was an important play.
I have no memory of that. I mean, you're kind of putting a memory into my head right now, but I have no memory of saying that.
I'm going to go back and find it. I swear you said that. You said it after one of the runs in this season. I think it was that one. But I remember Mookie Cooper, I think, had 1 or 2 big catches on that drive. He had an awesome game. He was 4 for 79. Really just kind of established himself as the wide receiver 2. Theo Weiss had a good game, 6 for 72. You'll remember this was the first game we got a Marquise Johnson deep ball. I mean, the passing offense was so bad in the first 2 weeks. People were legitimately like, are they hiding plays And I remember thinking, no, that's ridiculous. Like they're not doing that. This game genuinely made me think they probably were. Brett Norfleet had a couple ridiculous plays.
Tyler Stevens had a catch in this one.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you when that was. I was going back and rewatching some of the highlights in this game included. I do not remember seeing a Tyler Stevens catch in there, but just a blast of a game. It really, really was. I mean, one memory that always sticks out to me too is after the Luther touchdown, they get a QB hit on Will Howard. He throws the interception to Chris Abrams-Drain. That place exploded. It ended with a field goal because Dennis Jackson in his one snap of the season, I swear to God, dropped a pass on third down. But whatever. That's my 1-1 pretty easily. It might be 1-1 on the season.
All right. Next game in this 6-game set. I think this one was pretty easy, just cut and dry. I have the Vanderbilt win.
Yes, so do I.
I think this is a game that maybe some people have, memories of, but it was just a traditional just beat down. Mizzou was up 17-7 at halftime and outscored Vanderbilt 21-14 in the second half. Brady Cook was firing on all cylinders. He went 33 for 41 for 395 yards and 4 passing touchdowns. We were talking about this before we came on the show and we started it. Nate Pete had the most rushing yards in this one, even though he had 4 less carries than Cody Schrader. He had 71 yards on the ground. Luther Burden exploded in this one. He had 11 receptions for 140 yards and 2 scores. Theo Weiss had 10 receptions for 118 yards and 1 score. And then it's kind of just piled in from Marquise Johnson as well. 3 receptions, 64 yards and a touchdown. I mean, everything was working through there. And this was pre-Pavia as well. This is Ken Seals.
Ken Seals. God. Ken Seals, Mike Wright. Who was the guy in 2019? Like
AJ Swan.
Swan was in there. I had nightmares about some of these Vandy QBs. I mean, I will say on this Vandy team, it was a bad Vandy team. I remember this was like kind of the stutter step in the Clark Lee era because I was convinced Clark Lee was a pretty good coach after 22 because he had a competitive team. I mean, you look through this Vanderbilt team, it was sneaky talented. I mean, Jaden McGowan was a good player. Will Shepard, great player. Cedric Alexander, Junior Sherrill, those are all names I recognize. So certainly not like a talentless team. It was a team Missouri had to go in and beat down. But Vanderbilt did at least keep Missouri honest towards the end. I mean, up until, they got that Luther Burden 17-yard touchdown with like 4 minutes left. So that kind of sealed the deal. You know what my favorite play in this game is, though, Kenny?
Yeah, I know what it is.
It's the Austin Firestone third down sack. It was just a year where Missouri was rotating in edge rushers. Joe Moore would have a couple big ones. Niles Gaddy, I think, was D lineman of the week once. Of course, D-Rob was the leader. I mean, he was an excellent edge rusher for this team. He was the alpha. Johnny Walker kind of stepped up as a great compliment. But there were just guys making plays throughout the year, role players. And Austin Firestone was one of them. He had that big, I think it was 3rd or 4th down. But it was a huge sack. I think it was 4th down because I think I remember it being a turnover on downs. That kind of helped ice the game. Again, you don't get a season like this without contributions coming in from all over the place. And Austin Firestone, that was his moment, and it helped Missouri get a very easy, or at least a convincing road win.
And Austin Firestone retired the next.
Yeah, it was the next year, pretty sure.
Spring, yeah, he didn't play much further. He was a transfer from Northwestern. Payton, for the third game on here, I have just South Dakota is just kind of a layup. I mean, it was just a fine start to the. I mean, what other win do you have? Do you have Memphis going into this one? Even then? Okay, I'm fine doing that.
Here's the thing about Memphis. On paper, it does not look like a fantastic win. Only a 7-point win. It was in the Dome. Here's the thing about it. I had never, it was coming off Kansas State, so there was in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, geez, they could really have a letdown here. And, Memphis was a really solid, they're probably one of the best, if not the best, group of 6 teams in the country. They were 3-0 coming into this game. They had Seth Hennigan and a couple guys on that offense that were really scary. And, Memphis did briefly lead. They led 10-7 after the first quarter. Yeah, Rock Taylor, that's who I remember. He was a baller. Thing about this game that I still think was really cool is that Luther Burden had 10 catches for 177 yards in his hometown in a half, pretty much. If you remember, he got hurt and couldn't finish the game. He looks like he was on his way to a unbelievably dominant game. Again, not a perfect victory. They had moments where they could have pulled away way more in this game. There's some kind of goofy play calls. I remember like a 3rd and goal QB power that I didn't love. By the way, this is the play everyone loves is the fake pitch going some way QB run with Brady Cook. It started this season. But I mean, this is still like a really solid win in front of a neutral crowd, which, by the way, the dome was
dreary. That's why I think
the reason they haven't gone back.
There's a negative connotation with that game for me, just because it didn't feel right. I mean, the lighting there
should have been better. It was really a shame that the dome was in the state it was. I mean, the playing surface was embarrassing. But I don't have a positive memory of South Dakota, really. But we can get into that in just a sec.
Is that where you want to go next? Is that your next?
That would be my next one, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's where I'd go. I mean, I was kind of just tossing it up there. Going to the South Dakota game, there's still a lot of feelings of, someone's, has a match underneath Drinkwitz seat, trying to just, fire something up here. You go into this one and there is a quarterback battle again. It's just how it was for Brady Cook in all these years, is that they were looking at, multiple options. And the other option was Sam Horn in this one. It was his sophomore season or redshirt freshman season.
It is redshirt freshman, I believe.
Yeah, redshirt freshman season for Sam Horn. So, there's conversations about, who's going to be the quarterback, and they split it up between the halves. And, Brady Cook had 21 passing attempts in the first half. Sam Horn had 5. I mean, it was clear, it was one of those situations in the Drinkwitz era, especially early on, where there was a quarterback battle. For the people that are not watching on the YouTube, I did the quote marks, and everyone knew that Brady Cook was going to come out. Whoever was really the starter in the first half was going to be the quarterback moving forward, even though there was a lot of excitement about Sam Horn. Even then, it was just, it was Brady Cook's team. And, and we didn't learn this until later, too. I think this is something that we didn't talk about in the 2022 team. Didn't he play with a torn labrum in his shoulder that entire back half of the season?
I do. He was hurt. I do remember that being the whole narrative. And I remember we talked about, because you were on the 22 beat after, and we were in our, I think it was data journalism class. And I said something I'd imagine Sam Horn will start next year. And you said, no, I think Brady Cook's going to start. And I feel like I was kind of shocked. I was like, I think the fan base would revolt. And I'll tell you what, I was revolted by this game. I thought it was the most embarrassing thing ever that Sam Horn got a 5-pass attempt half, and they billed it as a QB competition. It clearly was not. I just don't remember really anything about this game. I think, I remember Luther Burden had a screen pass touchdown from Horn. I don't, I saw in the box score Mekhi Miller had a touchdown. I don't remember that. That was the first touchdown of the year, too. I'm sure we were going crazy about that. Yeah, 15-yard screen pass. It's just beating South Dakota 35-10 was not the morale boost I was looking for. They were up 28-3 at half. I wanted to see a Murray State 2024 level beatdown to open the year, and we did not get that. It was just kind of a bad vibes game to me.
Yeah, the only other thing I do remember is this game being at night. Which was,
it was a Thursday game.
It was a Thursday, yeah. So this thing is always just sits in the back of my mind, because in reality, when you see this matchup, and if you're just looking at the schedule, you're thinking 11 a.m. kick on the first Saturday of the year. Get this one out of the way. It's going to be a hot one. This ended up being that Thursday win. And I just have like memories of like them like panning to Brady Cook more on the sideline than actually like showing Sam Horn playing. Maybe that's just something I just remember, but I think everyone just kind of knew that the job was his moving forward. There's nothing more to really say about this one. Cody Schrader ran for 138 yards. Luther was the leading receiver with 96. Johnny Walker had a sack in this one. He led the Tigers in tackles with 6, 5 solo. Anything else from this one? I think for the next one, Payton, I think we have a clear-cut 5.
I don't know that it's so clear-cut because
Okay.
I think you could certainly argue LSU should be 6, but to me, LSU is 5.
That's what mine is. I mean, clear-cut for us is what I was saying. I think for myself, I have LSU. The only difference we had in our list was Memphis and South Dakota being flipped, and I had LSU number 5 the entire time.
Yes, same. LSU, what a good vibes day for a lot of it. I mean, they force LSU to punt. Oh, LSU did have 2 losses at the time. That sucks. You force LSU to punt. You go down. You score immediately. And you go for that weird 2-point play that somehow works, and you're up 8-0 in the blink of an eye. Oh, man. And then there was just such stupid stuff. Like, there were dumb penalties on that next drive, I remember. Wow, Garrett Nussmeier threw 2 passes in this game. I forgot Jayden Daniels was briefly hurt. I mean, to me, yes, this was a really painful loss. It sucked. LSU outscored them 22-7 in the fourth quarter. Of course, that the 7 of which came with Brady Cook having to go 90 yards in 40 seconds to try and tie the game. And LSU, of course, I think it was not even 40 seconds probably. LSU had a pick 6 at the end. I remember Cody Schrader, like when the game was in a lull, had like a really huge rush. He had 3 touchdowns. I don't know that I'd say this was the start of like his insane run. I actually think that was kind of one of the more forgettable games in this season is where Cody Schrader's like big run started. But I mean, like Luther Burden had a great day. Theo Weiss had that ridiculous touchdown to open the game. Missouri's offense was clicking for a lot of it. I do remember Brady Cook threw his first interception of the year in this game. It was right before half, and it did kind of throw things out of whack for a bit. But really the story of this game, it was just Jayden Daniels deadlifted this LSU team pretty much on his own to a win. I mean, there was just nothing. Blake Baker could not figure out what to throw at him. They were calling QB draws on 3rd and like 7, and he scores on almost untouched. He just shell-shocked that Mizzou defense. To me, that was kind of just the tragedy of it was Jayden Daniels was unfortunately the best player on the field, and it showed, and sometimes that's all it takes to win. But at the same time, I was frustrated because I went back and watched the highlights of this game, like not for this, but like a few months ago, I'd say, just out of curiosity. I mean, there were guys wide. Malik Neighbors has just a wide open touchdown catch late. I don't know what was happening. I think Missouri was just in its own head on defense, but it was a tragic loss. But I still came out of it feeling like, okay, Missouri's pretty good. I do think they're pretty good, but that sucks that they lost the way they did.
This was a lot closer than 49 to 39 as well. A lot of back and forth throughout the game. Going into halftime, it was 25-17 in favor of Missouri, and then at one point LSU got it up to 27-25. You go into that fourth quarter, and LSU scored back-to-back touchdowns, 2:58 mark, and then 34 seconds at the end for Major.
That Malik Neighbors, the 5-play, 75-yard drive, that Malik Neighbors 30-yard touchdown from Daniels was so wide open. And you'll remember, I mean, on that last drive, Missouri was at midfield quickly, and they had a 3rd and 1. You feel pretty good about Missouri picking that up, but a damn snap infraction. Remember, that was like a weird thing this year. Like Tollison had a bunch of those, had one at the most inopportune time. forces Missouri to have to throw the ball. I think it was Foster had a great year. That O-line had an awesome year, but Foster got beat pretty clean. Brady Cook had no chance. He got lit up. And Missouri had to punt, which I do think was the right choice, given that it was like 4th and 30 or something. But yeah, it sucks because there were a lot of chances. Missouri just gets one stop. They don't have a snap infraction. Maybe they bleed the clock dry and score late with no chance for LSU to really go down and tie it. But it wasn't to be. I mean, Jayden Daniels went on to win the Heisman. The Heisman had a Heisman performance. That's really what it came down to.
He went 15 for 21 on passing attempts in this game, 259 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns. On the ground, this includes sacks, but 15 carries, 130 yards, and 1 touchdown. It's so fun to look back at some of these teams too, because you don't realize who some of these players are until the next couple seasons, especially just some of the backups. We knew Malik Neighbors was, we knew Brian Thomas Jr. was. I mean, these are high draft picks, 146 yards, 66 yards respectively. 4th in receiving in this game. He only had 1 reception. Was Kyron Lacey, who had very outstanding career at LSU as well.
Only 4 guys caught passes for him. That is nuts.
If you look at it too, I mean, it was really just a 2-headed rushing too from Logan Diggs, and then Jayden Daniels only had 4 less rushing yards.
Yeah, I mean, this was Jayden Daniels' moment. Yeah. It really, really was. I mean, you look defensively, Mekhi Wingo, yeah. Did Missouri, how did Missouri do, who was on the defense? Tyron Hopper had a sack, Darius Mizzou and Relis George split a sack, it looks like. Yeah, I mean, it was just Trevez Johnson, I remember in particular, had a real rough day.
Bad routes to the ball. That's what it was. Bad routes to the ball.
Really bad. That's putting it nicely. Chad Bailey, 8 tackles. There you go, Kenny.
Yeah. One last thing that I think we should point out about this game. It was very fitting that Blake Baker was hired by LSU after this one, because his worst performance of the year, probably as calling defensive plays, was against the Heisman winner. This LSU team would be worlds better, with a different leader on defense as well. This offense for LSU is historic. It is one of the best ones that LSU's had in recent memory. This LSU team 4 years prior won the national championship as well. Different staff at the time, but this is an LSU team that's LSU is just known in general for having prolific offensive players, and this was just such a loaded offense when you look back at it. The defense is just what held it back.
Yeah, I do remember the defense was rotten for them, the whole year, and in this game, it was a bad unit. Harold Perkins was a great player. That was about it. Nobody else was really worth writing home about. Whit Weeks, oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, but the offense, like you mentioned, was such a powerful unit. I mean, if they had a league average defense, that team is playing for a national championship, probably.
So Matt House, is that right? Defensive coordinator?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think he went to the NFL after he was just at Jaguars.
Well, he got fired.
Yeah, I'm saying after he got fired. Last one on here. It's the last game available, and I think it was fair to just put this one at the bottom. Middle Tennessee comes in week 2, 0-1. Also a night game. I think that's something that sticks with me about this one. Mizzou wins it 23-19. Middle Tennessee outscores Mizzou 9-7 in the 4th quarter. Like you mentioned, Payton had an opportunity to take the lead. Just this game in general, and even if you're watching with us on YouTube, you can see the graph of it just kind of going up and down. Never got above into that range for Middle Tennessee for percentage-wise over 50%. But in general, this was a game that felt like, oh man, we're just back in 2022 again.
Yeah, I mean, this was the first full week where Drink was just like, yeah, Brady Cook's our quarterback, and he sucked. He was so bad in this game. I know the stats don't look that bad. 14 for 19, 204, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, the safety he took was like a true what in the damn world are you doing moment. Nate Pete, I remember, had like a big touchdown catch in this game. You kind of felt like maybe he was breaking out, but I mean, Theo Weiss was just so unproductive the first couple weeks. You were kind of getting worried about that. Luther Burden was having a nice start, but that was really it. There was no reason this team should have only scored 23 points against Middle Tennessee at home. I gotta find what the drive after the safety was, because I remember it got kind of close. Yeah, so right before that, Middle Tennessee goes 11 plays, 84 yards for a touchdown, make it 17-23. 2 plays later, Brady Cook takes a safety. Then they have a 7-play, 15-yard drive. It makes it to, okay, so it wasn't to the Mizzou red zone. They made it to the Mizzou 42. And Missouri's defense does make a stand. Missouri's able to bleed the clock out from there. But I remember I was so mad. I was just like, let's record the post-game recap right now, after the game ended, because I'm done. I don't want to wait to do this. There's no point. You can see I thought that Middle Tennessee State on the side that went 3-9, I thought that was this year. I don't know what Middle Tennessee State went in 2023, but it was definitely not good enough to warrant having to sweat that game out. Truly abysmal. It was as low as I had ever felt. Oh my God, they won 5 games. They went 5-7. Oh no, they went 4-8. I can't even count. Yeah. They went 4-8 and almost beat Mizzou in a year where Mizzou went 11-2. But clunker way to start the year. It kind of not very fitting that we're ending the first part of this on that. But someone's got to be last. The next episode will be much more fun than this one because we won't have to talk about a Middle Tennessee State type game.
I wouldn't say weirdly enough, but with this game, it did carry a lot of weight at the end of the year and going into next season as well, with how national analysts were viewing Missouri. Okay, this team in the SEC went 6-2 in conference play, made it to the Cotton Bowl, beat, big bad Ohio State, no matter, if Ohio State was resting its best wide receiver, if its quarterback had entered the transfer portal, there's still expectations of Ohio State being that team. This game kept getting put under the microscope. This was a game that, they go back and they were kind of, viewing Mizzou, and there's a lot of conversations about Mizzou against, SEC opponents that are above 500 in the last couple of years, Mizzou on the road especially. But this was a game I just remember a lot of national analysts kept going back to. It's like, this Mizzou team was, good, but there was still a lot of these blips on the resume of there were teams that could have beaten this Mizzou team. There was, there were weaknesses, there were holes in the play, but I think this was just so early on into the season that Mizzou really cleaned it up. I mean, that Brady Cook you didn't really see again the rest of the year. This was probably his least productive performance, especially on the ground too. He didn't even have positive yardage. You include sacks and the safety, like you mentioned, Payton. But other than that, I mean, he just wasn't really a threat with his legs.
No, I mean, they really kept him just very vanilla the first couple weeks. It just, I don't really know, I can't even remember any play the defense would have made. It's just a dreary game. I just remember the end. I remember, genuinely, for about 5 minutes, I was like, Missouri is about to lose to Middle Tennessee State. And this was probably the second most likely I thought Drink was to be fired. The first being, of course, when he somehow let his team take the delay of game against Kansas State. But, all's well ends well. Look where we are now. Missouri won this game. Drinkwitz won 11 games this year. And here we are now in a position to where we can complain that he doesn't win enough top 10 games.
So the back half of the season, which we'll do next Monday, will be Kentucky, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, Arkansas, and then the Cotton Bowl victory over Ohio State. It would have been very fitting, Payton, if the bye week came after that LSU game. That just feels like that's what would happen, with a schedule like this. But Mizzou didn't have its first bye week of the year until after the South Carolina game. So in retrospect, I mean, this was a pretty fair schedule for Missouri, and we can talk about that more next week once we talk about it. But any just final thoughts just on this first half of the season before we get to quick hits?
Yeah, I mean, we had enough info to think Missouri was good. I mean, I was still thinking more Citrus for LiaQuest Bowl was maybe the height of my expectations after LSU. Um, Little did we know, because I mean, I still figured like we're looking like the back half of the schedule was tough. I mean, that you had Georgia, you had Tennessee, Kentucky was ranked going into that game. South Carolina was kind of off and on in 23. I remember their O line was really bad, so I was expecting I was hoping for 9-3, kind of expecting 8-4. But man, they sure wound up making it one hell of a back half of the schedule.
It's going to make one heck of a tough conversation to have on ranking these ones when we get to next week. I'm sure it's going to be our lists are going to look a little bit different based on what we remember, and it's always good to look at hindsight too of what those games meant moving forward, what they meant when you look back at the schedule, because we did that with the 2022 ones, with the loss to Tennessee and then the response that you got in 2023 against the Volunteers. But we'll talk about that next week. Hopefully Jack will be back with us as well, talk about some of those games before the show ends. We'll see you on the other side with Quick Hits. All right, Quick Hits time. Kind of a tough thing to just start on, just with the passing of Aldon Smith. For those who didn't see, the former Missouri defensive end passed away at 36 years old on Saturday. Former 7th overall pick, spent 3 years at Missouri, redshirted his freshman year and played 2 seasons with the Tigers and forgoed those last 2 and ended up being a top 10 pick. Correct me if I'm wrong, Payton, I did read this. He was the first draft pick for Jim Harbaugh in San Francisco. The new era of the 49ers. They went to the Super Bowl a couple years later, 2 or 3 years later. Overall, I mean, it wasn't probably the entire NFL career that he had planned out. We know he had, off the field situations, but altogether, I mean, it was really nice to see a lot of the stories that people put out from, former teammates, friends from the University of Missouri, how much he gave back. And we know that there's a story out there as well that on Saturday, before he passed, he was giving out pizzas to the homeless in the San Francisco area. So continuing to give back even, years after his playing career had ended. Payton, for you, I know that's, his time at Mizzou was probably not, something that we maybe remember. I don't know. You weren't even living in Missouri yet. So, yeah, I mean, but at the time, even one of those Super Bowls, I mean, the 49ers Super Bowl against the Ravens is one I remember, very, very well. And just that time of seeing Aldon Smith, I think that was for us at least, was the opening of a lot of NFL memories.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of put it well. I'm glad you even mentioned that. I believe Pro Football Talk was who had it, about the story about him spending his day giving out pizza to the homeless. Certainly seemed to have a very good heart. Like you said, I mean, he had his off the field problems. It's very sad. It did sort of prematurely end what was looking like it was going to be an unbelievable NFL career. He did have a comeback with the Cowboys briefly, and I know that went relatively well, but it does seem that he had a very, very good heart on him. It's incredibly sad. I mean, just way too young. I mean, not even in his 40s yet. So certainly just hope his family is able to find some peace in some way. I mean, because it's just a very, very unexpected and just a sad situation.
He was on that NFC champs team in 2012 for the 49ers. And he was right out of, it was his second year in the league. I mean, and that was a pretty good time for that era of the 49ers. He was a first team All-Pro in 2012, Pro Bowler in 2012. In his rookie year in 2011, he was a PFWA All-Rookie team. Going back to his college career as well, he was first team All-Big 12 in 2010. He was on the Big 12 Defensive Freshman of the Year in 2009. So I thought this was, fun thing to do here is just remembering Aldon Smith's career, Payton. And like we mentioned at the top of the show is that, we weren't, either of us were even living in Missouri or even really watching Missouri football at that time, especially when he was in college. Heck, we were, 8, 9, 10 years old during that time as out-of-staters, so it wasn't something we were too familiar with. But his name is going to be in the record books for a long time for Mizzou football, if not just forever. At this point, just his lasting impact on those D-line zoo. At the turn of the 2010s, in the late 2000s. Payton right now, and I'm looking at the single season stats records, he is on sacks for career and single season. Do you want to guess where he stands on those? Because it's a pretty good list of names, and especially on the single season sack leaderboard.
Oh, man, I don't know. At Mizzou, I'm sure I won't say he's number one. God, it's crazy because I was reading about his NFL career too. He had like 19 and a half sacks in his second season. So like what position, like what number on the leaderboard is he?
Yeah, we'll start with the single season. You can guess what position he's in. And then once you get that, I can tell you some of those other names that are around where he is.
I'll say he's third.
You're close. He is second. So top of the list is Shane Ray, 2014. With 14 and a half sacks. And then Aldon Smith is tied with Michael Sam for 11 and a half in a single season. Michael Sam did in 2013, Aldon Smith in 2009. At 4, Justin Smith in 2000. Another.
They were
49.
teammates in San Francisco too.
Yep, 11 sacks there. I know Striker Sulak is someone that I've learned about more in the last couple of years. Of course, it's older for me as well. I was 7 or 8 years old when he put this season together, with 10 and a half sacks in 2008. Antoine Bynum had 10 sacks in 2002. And that's tied with Marcus Golden as well for that 6th spot on the list. Marcus Golden had 10 in 2014. Career sacks, like I mentioned, only played 2 years because he redshirted in 2008. But Aldon Smith is still in the top 10 among career sacks. Do you want to guess where he is?
I'll say he's like 7.
You're close. I mean, there's a lot of ties in here, especially in the middle. Brian Smith is at the top with 31 and a half. Justin Smith is tied for second with strikers. Is it Sulak? Is that? I know someone might correct me. But yes, it's times that we weren't really watching this team. But 22 and a half, they're both tied for second. Go down the list a little bit more. Tied for 5th, Michael Sam, Shane Ray, Johnny Walker Jr. all at 18 and a half. And then tied for 9th, Bobby Bell, Steve Martin, Antoine Bynum, Aldon Smith, and Charles Harris, all with 17.
Crazy, crazy player. I mean, that's all in 2 years. Very, very sad.
But I thought that was a good time to kind of look back on his mark. Like we mentioned, I mean, his name's going to be on that single season one for a long time. There might be another, elite edge rusher that comes in and starts to knock some names down that list of the career ones for Missouri. But altogether for single season, it's hard to say Aldon Smith won't be in that top group for a long time coming.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Tigers in the Wild. This is a fun one, Payton, and I'll point out that this is even fun just because of what's written in this tweet from the Sydney Kings. So Jayden Stone spent 1 year with the Tigers as passer on the men's basketball team, has signed with the Sydney Kings. So going back to Australia, originally from Perth, played in the United States, of course, with Detroit Mercy, West Virginia, and then Mizzou. And now he's going to play in Sydney, but it does say pending league approval. I thought that was very funny that they had to throw that in there, that he has signed, but they're just waiting for the league to confirm it. This will be for the 2027 season, first year as a pro.
That's so weird they even tweet this before the medicals and league have the contracts properly approved. That's not how typically NFL teams or any professional team in the States won't even release it until it's all done and through to the league.
Yeah, sometimes because it feels like it's against league rules to even mention it. It's just if they're not signed by you, you can't really post anything yet. I guess you see it too with draft picks, but it might be a little bit different in this case. But it is very funny just to put it out there, and it's not even official yet. All right, Payton, you're a Tiger in the Wild.
Tiger in the Wild will be Jordan Clarkson, who won the NBA title with the New York Knicks. He had a couple games where he played a lot. Did he play yesterday, in Game 5?
Yeah, I think for a couple minutes. I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah, so there you go. Jordan Clarkson, also another should have been Tiger, OG Anunoby, did not win. Finals MVP that went to Brunson, which he had 45 in a closeout game, so that's not overly shocking. But yeah, very entertaining, probably as good as a 5-game series could have been.
6 minutes for Jordan Clarkson in game 5, 2 points. He took 5 shots in those 6 minutes, 1 for 5. Missed both of his 3-point attempts. He had 1 rebound, +3 in the box, plus minus. Only 2 SEC players won the trophy this year.
Who was the other?
Cat.
Oh, yeah.
Anthony's Hounds. At least that's what the SEC posted. They posted. They usually
I think
post
that's probably right, because I mean,
Yeah.
like, Shamit went to Wichita, a lot of Nova Knicks. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
All right, Jack Knowlton's Tiger in the Wild. We're going to have a couple of these, probably the next couple shows and even in this show, but another commitment on the baseball front. Ryan Martin is the latest one for Missouri, or one of the latest ones. Comes over from UNLV last season, the 6'4" right-hander, appeared in 13 games. He struck out 22 batters. 6 came in his season finale against San Diego State. Just in those 19 innings last season, he posted a 6.16 ERA. Walked 9 batters to those 22 strikeouts. Season high innings, 4 2/3.
Unrelated, they really should have the Mizzou graphics department make these kids graphics.
You don't like the AI ones?
No, I don't. Please let your creatives make these graphics.
A lot of these are being turned around pretty fast too. I don't even know what the process would look like. We're also in like a time where students aren't in school anymore. I don't know if that affects anything for some of these graphics teams if they have their whole group together. All right, headlines of the week. I thought I'd tie in another commitment for Missouri on the baseball front in the transfer portal with a headline from June 12th. Payton, this is earlier this week, and I guess it wasn't even that long ago. But Evan Dempsey headlines 3 ABCA Rawlings All-Region honorees from FGCU. The headline doesn't even include the player that Missouri got, but one of the players that ABCCA Rawlings recognized on its second team was third baseman Javier Gorostola, who was one of the FGCU transfers for Missouri, the second one for the Tigers in this portal. He committed to the Tigers on the same day that this article came out on June 12th, rejoining his former teammate Wilfred Gonzalez. We spoke about him on a previous episode, but he was all-Sun first team. He hit .370 this past year, 81 total hits, 13 homers, 54 RBIs. I mean, not a bad set of numbers for all A-Sun.
It's interesting they've got 2 guys from FGCU now. It's always clearly Missouri likes something about the way they're developing. That's kind of like the way MLB teams do it too. Is they always hone in on like one program that they like the way. I know the Cubs have always liked like how Old Dominion does it. So I guess that's something to keep an eye on maybe.
Dallas Baptist, that's one that you see a lot of schools go after too. Always put together some pretty good teams. Dunk City was the name of the basketball one. Do you have a nickname for the baseball city? Or it was Dunk City, right?
It was Dunk City.
Yeah, what's a baseball one?
City is Lob City was obviously the Clippers. The Eagles baseball team.
Oh, that's lame.
I can't think. What would you call them?
Knock City.
That's solid.
Knock, synonym for hit, for those that don't know.
What's a two-bagger city if they hit a lot of?
Yeah, it's not like we can't say home runs because like there's obviously not, a good set of homers. It's just that they have high batting averages. So,
yeah. The Texas Leaguer Eagles.
All right, we'll go with that one.
The bat to ball Eagles.
You know what a gork is?
Don't know what a gork is, actually.
Like a Texas Leaguer. Well, we call him BABIP. We'll call him
Florida Gulf Coast
BABIP. BABIP. There we go.
Feel free to take that.
Everyone use it.
Yeah, feel free to take it, Florida Gulf Coast. It's all yours.
Payton, your headline.
My headline is going to be 2027 NFL Draft ranking top 5 prospects at every position. Only 2 Tigers show up here, and they're probably the 2 you're thinking of. Ahmad Hardy is Jordan Reed's number 3 running back, because he explicitly says there's no doubt Hardy is one of the top returning rushers in the country, but he was shot in the upper leg at a concert in May and had surgery. If he returns to full health and repeats his performance from last year, he could be the first rusher off the board. So that's the only reason he really has him at number 3 at the moment. Matt Miller does have Ahmad Hardy at 1 still. Both of them have Keywan Lacey in their top 2. Keywan Lacey is number 1 for Reed and number 2 for Miller. So, and the other, of course, is going to be Caden Green. He is the number 1 guard for each one of them. It seems pretty obvious that's what he'll play in the league. He's a fine left tackle, but obviously not his best position. That's kind of just where Missouri's at. Also, I think Ryan Wingo is ranked by one of them. Yeah, Ryan Wingo is Matt Miller's number 4 receiver. He is not ranked for Jordan Reed. That's the only other obvious Mizzou connection I saw.
That's funny. That came up yesterday. I was watching one of the soccer games with a friend, and some of his friends from UT were there. And I said, is Ryan Wingo a junior this year? Isn't that crazy to think, Payton, that he's already a junior? And now he's probably going to go in the NFL draft if he really wanted to.
Yeah, crazy. That's all I'll say on that.
You seem really happy. I hope the YouTube viewers are getting to watch that as well. You can switch over to YouTube if you're on the podcast. See how
really happy for that kid.
Yeah. All right. Great. Jack's headline of the week. You wanted this, so I'll let you take it, Payton. You originally wanted this headline before Jack took it.
Well, yeah, I wanted it because it was pretty big news. Comes from Sam Borden at ESPN. Balogun leads USMNT rout of Paraguay in Dream World Cup start. U.S. won 4-1 in its World Cup opener. That's the most goals they've ever scored in a World Cup game. It's more than they scored in the entire 2022 World Cup. I think Balogun had 2 goals. Paraguay had technically an own goal to open. I don't know if that gets given. I'm not a soccer guy, so I don't know if it gets given to anyone or not. And Gio Reyna, who of course was very infamously part of a lot of player drama in 2022. He played the final 10 minutes here and scored a goal. So very good for the U.S. Certainly have to be happy with that. I don't know what Knowlton's thoughts really are. I mean, he seemed happy.
He was kind of getting into it in the group chat and didn't really know what he was getting into. I don't know if you saw that. Some of our friends from college.
I just saw he had long messages, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, he was defending someone, and he was as people were arguing about someone else, and so he got really excited about it. I think this is a very fun time of year because you and I mean, we can't even call ourselves casual soccer fans. We don't watch the sport.
I literally only watch when the U.S. men's national team plays. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and especially in this scenario, we will watch these games. If you are watching with us on YouTube and you recognize my shoulders, to those that were watching the show a couple years ago, I do have my Bayer Leverkusen jersey on right now, Payton. Still, one of the craziest things that we don't bring up enough is that I did a random kit pack and I got this, and then Bayer Leverkusen never lost another game the entire season. The entire season I had it going into that year. Won the Bundesliga. 2 of those guys, Florian Wirtz and Jonathan Tah, are both on Team Germany right now. Just won that game. I mean, incredible win there. 7-1 for Curacao. And it's cool to see those connections still alive there. I was looking through that roster, Payton. A lot of those guys aren't on that team anymore that we were following. And a lot of them have moved on to bigger clubs. Even like Zebi Alonso, who's the manager for that team, has since had another job and has since been fired from that job. Feels like it was It feels like it was last year, but it was 3 years ago. This
3
summer.
years, yeah.
Incredible.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of fun. I know a lot of people. I mean, coming into the World Cup too, Payton. I think from a nationals perspective of people that weren't really that much in tune with soccer, they were almost calling it as, this is kind of going to look like a disaster for the United States and how they're handling this and how FIFA's handling this. I think it's been pretty fun the first couple of days just watching these games. Of course, we don't know too much about the players or even like every player's name, but these have been pretty fun matches so far. And I'll point out too, Peyton, you were the only one to get something correct from our FanDuel bets from Friday.
Who did you take?
I took a draw in South Korea and South Korea and Czechia, and I took a draw. South Korea won by 1.
South Korea won.
Yeah.
Soccer guy, me. No, I'm with you though. I mean, I saw Australia beat Turkey yesterday. Most people thought Turkey was kind of the biggest threat to the U.S. in the group. U.S. plays Australia next, so if I'm not mistaken, if the U.S. beats Australia, they would almost have to be like guaranteed to it. I guess maybe not. I don't know exactly how it works, but it'd be really hard for them to miss, I'd imagine. So
Jack's going to listen back to this. He's going to be like, throwing his fist up in the air that we weren't talking about it correctly. But there's a point system still, like they're on a table.
Yeah, I know. I can't. And then there's like goal differential in there. So
they should be fine after, having a 4-1 win. Peyton, do you want to check off those final boxes of the show?
Yes, sirree, I will do that. First things first, we'll hit the 2019 National of the Week. Not all these guys can be winners, let me tell you. So we're going to go with a guy I've never heard of named Adrian Sanchez, Kenny. Adrian Sanchez. He played 4 different seasons with the Nationals, never played in more than 34 games in any of them. 2019 was actually his least productive season. He played in 28 games, had 32 plate appearances, slash 226, 250, 226. So no extra base hits even. He had 7 hits total on the year. He had a career WAR of just 0.4, according to Baseball Reference. Literally, his positions are listed as pinch hitter, second baseman, and third baseman. I have no memory of this guy. He's from Venezuela, though. So there you go. There's your 2019 Washington National of the Week. And, Kenny, we will move on to Joke. What is that your Soto jersey?
My Juan Soto jersey.
With the patch on. Do you like that logo?
Huh?
Do you like that logo?
Nah, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. This is when they started doing like different ones.
Yeah.
But this jersey was never actually worn because it's a championship jersey. It was Majestic. They switched to Nike that offseason.
Man, Majestic. This is just
so well made. Like, it is unbelievable.
Majestic jerseys are the best. Those things are beautiful. Oh well. Nike's sort of like after the letter debacle and the see-through pants and everything, they've turned it around a bit, but nothing quite beats an old Majestic jersey. But let's go to Joke. Kenny, how can you tell if a pig is hot? Easy. How can you tell if a pig is hot? Tell if a pig is hot.
Turns into a dog?
No.
Oh, man. Oh, it's bacon.
It's bacon. There you go, Kenny. Boom.
I feel like I've heard that one before.
Yeah.
All right, that's gonna do it. Yeah, you're big pig joke guy. Maybe that can be your new thing. You just make puns about pigs. That'll be your new one. We'll start that. That's a good one. Look at me. Well, that's gonna do it for this episode of The Unwritten Rule. We will see you guys on Friday. Jack should be back for that one. Don't have any plans yet. Maybe we'll get into some Mount Rushmores if there's nothing too pressing in the next week. Talk football, recruiting if there's anything that comes up in the next couple of days as well during Quick Hits next week. And then we'll be back for part 2 next Monday of the 2023 season, ranking the back 7 games for the Tigers. Until then, have a great week. This has been The Unwritten Rule, brought to you by FanDuel on the Believe Network.